Alright, so we just finished up on a little set, and we're about to head back to the house. So I got a video I'm gonna make. I told a guy yesterday that I was gonna make it for him. He's just starting out. He's wanting to learn a little bit more in depth on what you calls, what you running on your calls, what time of year, how long you running one call, how long you running the other call, how you doing your volume, all that different type of stuff. And that's probably the hardest thing that I had to figure out when I started learning. There's not really a whole bunch of in-depth detail on sequences and your length that you want to run one particular call, the breaks you want to take between calls. So all those different type of things. So about September, October, November, I'm going to sit there and I'm probably going to hit distress pretty hard going through. Rabbit distress, bird distress, some woodpecker, those type of deals. So how I start my standoff is I'll normally start off with a maybe a baby cottontail, something that ain't quite aggressive. That way if something's in the field, then he's going to hear that baby cottontail. That's an easy meal for him. He's going to come on in. The reason I do that is it's also a higher pitch sound. So when I start that higher pitch sound in the very beginning, that's going to pique that interest just a little bit. And I normally run that for about a minute or two, somewhere in that timeline, and then I'll cut it off for about a minute. So after that, if I've been running that call right there for about 5 minutes, I'm gonna go into Eastern Cottontail, and I think it's called Cottontail on the Fox Pro Hellcat. That's what I'm running right now. And it is an aggressive call. It's getting after it. I normally run it for about 5 minutes. I really like that new sound they put on that Fox Pro. I hadn't had that before. I had the older Fox Pro before I got this one. So I've really enjoyed the new sounds that they integrated in the Hellcat. And then towards the end of the stand, if I've ran that for about 10 minutes, that's when I'm gonna run that sequence: baby cottontail, bird distress, something around that line, and then we're gonna kind of ease off, and then I might do a lone howl to just, hey, there's one now over here. There's somebody else over here that's been around that cottontail or woodpecker or whatever that I've been running. If I'm in a cornfield, first thing I do when I get in a cornfield, I really like titmouse tantrum. A lot of those coyotes are running those fields. They're looking through the beans or the corn or whatever, searching for little mice. So that titmouse tantrum, it's a high-pitched sound. They really like it. They'll come in normally pretty good on that. Everything I run it about 2 minutes and then take about a minute break. The most thing that you want to focus on while you're going through these calls is as realistic as possible. A rabbit's not going to sit out there for 5 minutes and scream. So you want to run it for about a minute, 2 minutes, take a break for a little while, see what you got coming in. I'm about to get plumb soaked out here trying to make this video. Towards the end of the stand, like I said, lone howl, and then I'm going to go into some type of pup distress. So that's going to put you, after you run all those sequences, you're going to be at about your 20-25 minute mark. And then I'm going to go into a hardcore pup distress and try to pull them coyotes, if they haven't come in yet, out of wherever they are. Pup distress does really well towards the end of the stands. It does pretty good. If I'm in an area that I've got hogs, I know I've got pigs, then I'm going to run a baby pig distress. That does pretty good. The most coyotes I ever caught in on one stand, I caught in 5 on a baby pig distress. Started throwing it out there a little bit. It does well. If you get a coyote hung up, been sitting there 10-15 minutes, you see one, start playing with that volume, running your volume up, running your volume down, cutting your volume off, just wanting to make it realistic. They're curious. They're wanting to figure out what's going on. So sometimes I just cut that volume. Sometimes I crank it down. Maybe it seems like it's a little bit further away than it really is, and it'll pull him in. Going into December, I like to start playing with a little bit more vocals, starting off stands with lone howls, female howls, going into that whole scenario, some whimpers, some challenge barks. I normally break those stands up, and I don't call quite as much when I'm running vocals. So they're not going to sit out there and call for 20 minutes. They're not going to do that. So now you're really getting into, you've got to know where and when to call what. So that's when you got to figure out kind of their language. You got to look more in depth on what they're doing. Towards the end of my stands, I like to do a dog brawl or some pup distress, pup howls, something like that. Dog brawl's done really good for me here recently, going into about 15 minutes into the stands. When you're running your vocals, I like to run them for about 30 seconds to a minute, so it cuts that time about in half. on if I was going to run a distress call. That's how I've been running that whole scenario. And I'm going to run vocals from about the end of December until February. And then I'll start kind of playing with some pup distress, leaning on more pup distress, and getting back into kind of some prey sounds and stuff like that. I'm not 100% positive if, you know, the same sequences I run, if they're on the same pattern right now as they might be in Ohio or out west somewhere. So that might just be something you've got to look into in your area. But that's my sequences. That's how I run everything. That's what works best for me. I appreciate y'all watching. I'm looking into doing a giveaway at 500 followers, and then I'm going to do a pretty big giveaway at 1,000. So y'all be looking out for that. Let me know what you'd be interested in getting, and I'll probably go ahead and start getting ready to purchase that so we can grow the channel a little bit more. So I appreciate y'all watching. Southern Predators, thanks. Let me know if y'all have any more questions or anything else I can help with. So thank y'all for watching.